Hello friends, I am here and I'm finally posting something new, and I want to show you my latest project, this beautiful cutting board. And it's not an original idea. I got it from the latest issue of Fine Woodworking, and I got to give a shout out to Jonathan Brower, who made one in here. If you want to know how to make this, this is the article to look at. It's really not that difficult. It's a lot of work though. By the way, the issue of Fine Woodworking is number 294, February of 2022. And let me give you a little close-up of where this is at right now. I made all the diagonal cuts and glued it back together. And today I'm going to cut it, square it off, and plane it a little bit. And then going to sand it. And then I'll have to also chamfer the edges, and then we should be ready for the finish, which is going to be mineral oil, a mix of mineral oil and beeswax. All right, so here we go. So the first thing I'm going to do after removing the clamps is clean up any residual glue that might affect the height of the cutting board when I put it through the planer. And because this is all end grain, it's going to be kind of slow going through the planer. I can only take little bites because it really bogs down the planer. All right, that's pretty good. Alrighty. Now it is square. 90 degrees square is what I mean. Pretty good for a rectangle. I just realized I already chamfered this side with the router and I forgot to video it. So I picked this area because once I want to do finish over there, I don't want any dust in the air, so, or as little as possible. But I'm going to be applying beeswax and mineral oil finish, so it doesn't matter if there's a little dust because that's going to absorb and dry quickly. So anyway, here we go. This is going to make a nice quarter round edge. And I'll do some light sanding on it, but it'll look nice. It'll feel good. All right, and I have a quarter round bit with a little bearing. The bearing rides along the edge here, and that creates the profile. And now we sand. I'm starting with 180 grit because really the planer did a nice job smoothing this out. So if I start with 180 and finish with 220, I think we'll be ready for finish then. Here we go. Here comes some noise. I have a feeling that both sides are going to look so good, I won't know which side should be up. And then we're just going to go cut on it and then tear it up anyway. So I'm going to get another 180. Because it's end grain, it feels like it goes through it pretty quickly. I want this thing to look pretty much flawless with the 180. Then the 220 is just going to be really to buff it up. Buff it up and make it look pretty. And you notice I have cardboard here. That's because the worktop always gets glue or something on it. I just don't want to make any scratches, unintentional scratches. All scratches are unintentional, I guess. So this all being end grain, some of the wood is harder than some of the other wood pieces in here. So I'm not making fine furniture here. I'm making a cutting block. So I see a couple tiny little lines that only I see that most people would not notice. And so I'm not going to worry about those because really they're almost impossible to pick up. So that's the first side. Now to go to side B. Or I think they're probably both side A, but anyway, here we go. It's going to be a shame to cut on this. All right, this is side A. And this is side A. All right, now I've got to hit the edges quickly. Boy, they almost don't even need it. Wow. Now I've got to set up my vise so I do not leave any marks in here. In pretty good shape. All right, let's see what I'm going to do here. So I don't know if you can see it with the camera, but there is a tiny little hole there, and there was a little tiny hole there. Can't believe it, but I'm going to fill it. And when I sand it out, it should be fine. That's so tiny, and it's on the side. Even once this thing gets wet, the wood will expand, so that'll, putting a little bit of filler there. I mean, it's the tiniest of gaps, but I don't want any way for moisture to get in this after all the work I've done. These are all these lines are great, completely tight. So that's a little trick to kind of fix things if there are things to fit. I mean, there's some ash here that is open grain. I'm not going to bother filling that. The wax and mineral oil, not the mineral oil, but the wax will fill that, and the mineral oil will get absorbed. All right, so now I'm going to sand the edges, and I'm going to carefully put it in my vise, hopefully not make any marks, but this is end grain, so it should be pretty hard. All right. All right, now to sand the edges. And I just realized in the background, I have this little bag. It looks like dog poop, but it's not. It's actually beach sand. I was going to send to my son in Texas from the beaches on the Cape. So that'll stay there. All right, here goes. The edges here, I'm going to leave at 180. We're not building the Taj Mahal here, so I think I said that in another video. Anyway, because it's a cutting board and not a fine piece of furniture, 180 will suffice. Once I put the wax and oil on here, it's going to look like $1 million anyway. All right, now we move to the 220. And I am ready to go. I got to just put some 220 on the sander. All right, it is time to cut some sandpaper to put on my sanding block. And since it's a cutting board, just kidding. There's a little bit of burn there from the router. And it is now gone. Looking good. Yeah, mostly gone. There we go. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Almost ready to cut on this thing. I'll round these edges. I guess I could do it next, right now. And I'm using 180 grit sandpaper. All right, let me just ease these edges a little. That's pretty good. Like a baby's bottom. If you were going to sand a baby's bottom, which I don't encourage you to do. All right, time to hit it with some 220, and then we are going to be ready to put finish on. All right, I think the A side is done. Now to flip it over and do a few passes on the A side. They're both A sides. Well, I feel no imperfections. And it's going to look amazing once we put some finish on this. It's going to really come alive. I got a couple little scratches here. They're so small. Let me just see if I can hit them a little more so that the A side is as good as the A side. All right, so I think we are ready to get the finish prepared, I have to, I have some beeswax already mixed with mineral oil, but there's a lot of wax in it, so I'm hoping I have some more mineral oil so I can thin it out a little bit and make it mostly mineral oil and with a little bit of wax. I think my man Jonathan in Fine Woodworking does a 4-to-1 ratio of beeswax, of 4-to-1 ratio of mineral oil to beeswax. So that would mean you're putting more mineral oil on. So, all right, so the A side looks pretty darn good. And look at the A side. This looks pretty good too. Although I see one little planer mark. A couple. Actually, I'm going to work on these some more. All right, now I would say the A side looks just as good as the A side. This is going to look amazing with some finish on it. Let me prep the finish, and I'll be back at you. All right, we are just about ready for finish. I've sanded it. I put a little inscription on here to my wife, Allison. Her initials are AL, mine are DL, and the year. I burned that in, and then I signed the end and dated it. Alrighty. Now I am going to mix up the mineral oil with my beeswax and heat it a little bit. Get it nice and warm. And I'm going to apply it onto the cutting board. Okay, I started applying the finish. And I had forgotten to start the recording. So I'm going to kind of start over again, if I can here. I mixed and heated up the mineral oil and wax concoction. And look at this. It's just amazing how beautiful it gets. So, put plenty of this on, and then I'm going to buff it out. Let it get absorbed. Just did side A. And in a minute, I will do side A, which is the other side, because they are both side A. They both look awesome. Look at this. It just comes alive. Really pretty cool. All right. Put a couple spaces under here just so it's not sitting on cardboard. Alrighty. Look at that, huh? I'm putting plenty on. It will absorb in, and then I will buff it till it's nice and dry. Wow. Man, the A side looks great. Let's turn it over. Kind of slippery now. Oh, look at the A side. This looks good too. I don't know which A side I like better. Wow. Pretty cool. Let me hold it up a little. I don't know if you get see it as well, but pretty doggone cool. I think that's all I need to put on here. I don't think it'll hurt if I just kind of keep rubbing it in. Just in case there's an area that's a little lighter than another area. Got a few little dust nibs or pieces of cloth from the old sheet that I cut up, but it's clean. All right, I am going to let that sit for a few minutes. Didn't realize this was leaking. Guess I'll be throwing out the cardboard after this. All right, time to cut some more pieces of the sheet so that I can buff this to a nice kind of, I guess it'll be a satin luster. Yeah. All right, so this is the finished cutting board. Here's side A, followed by side A. Hey, all right. Really came out great, and I got to tell you, I have got to give a shout out to Jonathan Brower from this month's Fine Woodworking for being so generous with this terrific idea. I think I'm actually going to call him and thank him in person because this is really great, and this is a gift that I made for my wife. So, sure we're going to use it for a long time. Over and out.